Good afternoon, Pokésports, and welcome to the final tier list for Pokemon Sword and Shield typings. Now, in today's tier list, we're going to be looking at the Ghost typing, arguably one of the most versatile types in the game, I feel. They can go tanky, they can go fast, they can go special, they can go physical. It's got a lot of versatility, and I think you're going to see that in today's tier list when we're looking at, the best Ghost type Pokemon in Sword and Shield. But if you guys are excited for Pokemon Legends Arceus, remember that tomorrow we're going to have our first Pokemon Legends Arceus gameplay on the channel. So, if you guys are excited, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button so you don't miss it, and let's get on to this tier list. Now, top of the S tier. What are we going to see there? I think it goes without saying, our friend Calyrex Shadow belongs right along there. Very fast. Very strong special attack. Very strong spread move as its signature. A base 100 stab ghost special attack spread move is terrifying. So I think it goes without saying we're going to go ahead and stick Calyrex in the S tier where it does belong. Now when we're talking about bottom of the bottom, this is where it gets difficult, I guess. Because I don't want to put too many Pokemon down there because a lot of these Pokemon do have versatility and do have use in the current metagame. And would be a smack in the face for me to say that they have absolutely no use. Except for Rotom Sparkplug. Just use a Rotom form. The Ghost type doesn't help Rotom that much. You might as well go with water, fire, heck, even go flying to be a little bit more versatile than Rotom Sparkplug. But yeah, let's go ahead and stick that in F tier so we can kind of get a lineup. I don't know if another Pokemon on this list will actually join it in F tier, but we'll see where this lies. I think it's without saying that we can give Spectrier a nice little A tier. It's not as good as Calyrex Shadow, but of course, it is still very good. It's still very fast and still hits very hard. So I think a solid A tier for that Pokemon for sure. In fact, maybe even an S tier, depending on how the rest of this list goes. I think just for starting it off, we'll say that Spectrier is a solid A tier. I think Gengar can be a solid B tier because it is also versatile. Gengar does have the ability to set up Trick Room. It's very fast, can carry a Focus Sash, can hit very hard. And you'll see the theme with Ghost types. It's either they're very fast or they're very slow. It's very hard finding a Ghost type that's in between, or at least the ones that are in between are very underwhelming in that sense. Moving on with the rest of the list, we need to look at a C tier Mon. I'm feeling Cofagrigus. Can be kind of considered a C tier. I mean, it can set up Trick Room. It does get overshadowed by Dusclops, which I would definitely put in A tier because Dusclops just does what every Trick Room setter needs to do. The only thing that doesn't go for Dusclops is the fact that it can get taunted, and it's a very easy taunt candidate, unfortunately. So because of that fact, it's a little underwhelming. But yeah, we need a D tier. D tier is going to be difficult. I'm feeling like Banette is a good example for a D tier. Just kind of a Pokemon that used to be decent when it had a Mega Evolution, but now that it doesn't have a Mega Evolution, it's just underwhelming. All I really know that it gets is like Will-O-Wisp and Shadow Sneak. That's about it. I'm not impressed with Banette at all, and I think in a singles competition or even a doubles competition, it doesn't get the job done. I wouldn't put an F tier just because I feel like it does more than Sparkplug Rotom, personally. Another B tier Mon that I want to put in is Aegislash. Aegislash was really good when Xerneas was popular, right? Aegislash was just kind of the go-to Xerneas counter because you get access to Wide Guard to stop the Dazzling Gleams. You also get access to Wide Guard to stop the Precipice Blades. You get access to Wide Guard to stop the Water Spouts and Origin Pulses. And you got Gyro Ball and Shadow Sneak. It used to be a lot better in previous generations because, there were less Pokemon that can straight OHKO it, and it had more defenses, which also equals being more attack when its stance changes. But yeah, it's a very unique Pokemon, very different and very cool. Definitely probably my favorite Gen 6 Pokemon on top of it too. My favorite Gen 7 Pokemon is right here. It's actually a Alolan Marowak, which I'm going to go ahead and give a B tier as well. It hits very hard. Alolan Marowak hits like a truck. Alolan Marowak is what Marowak should have always been. It hits like a truck with Thick Club, which is like a unique item. It gets its power doubled. And it also has Lightning Rod to stop, incoming Regielekis and shut them down. Unfortunately, the Raisin special attack won't do much for the Marowak because it is normally a physical attacker. But it's something, right? And just having Lightning Rod next to like a Gyarados or something that's 4 times weak to it is always helpful in the end. So I'll go ahead and stick Marowak in the B tier as like a Trick Room abuser type thing. Spiritomb kind of underwhelms me too. I feel like Spiritomb, all it really does is Will-O-Wisp and Foul Play, which kind of puts it in the same boat as a Banette, unfortunately. Another S tier I will add, and surprise, surprise, it's 2 restricted, is Lunala and Necrozma Dawn Wings. Because they're essentially the same Pokemon, they both get access to, Meteor Beam, they can Trick Room, they can go for Moongeist Beam, one can go for Photon, what is it, Geyser? Photon? Big scary psychic move. So that in and of itself is very interesting to me. And Lunala has always been like a go-to Trick Room setter because of their cool abilities. And Shadow Shield, you're never getting one shot for the most part. You'd have to really get hit by a Stab Dark type move to get one shot. And because that's not always readily available, these 2 Pokemon definitely do set up Trick Room well and take up the restricted spot very nicely. Unfortunately, the Pokemon that doesn't really take up a restricted spot nicely is Giratina. I feel like Giratina is kind of a waste when it comes to restricted. I don't know if people are going to be mad at me for saying that because I personally love the Pokemon. I mean, I want to face it in Pokemon Legends Arceus, and, the Pokemon's cool. It's a ghost and a dragon type with the first of its kind, the other one being the Dragapult. So it's very unique in that sense, but unfortunately, it's in a very awkward speed tier, especially for the current metagame. And when it comes to dragons, the faster dragon always wins. Yes, Giratina is tanky. Yes, Giratina can get Trick Room and set up Will-O-Wisp just like most other ghost types. But when other dragons outspeed it and you can't one-shot them back, they can knock you out next turn, right? That's the problem with being tanky. If it's still a 2 KO, it's not tanky enough. So that's why I'm deciding to put Giratina and alternate origin form Giratina in the B tier. Since we spoke about Dragapult, let's go ahead and place Dragapult. I'm going to say Dragapult is a solid S tier. It is so versatile. Dragapult can help set up Colossal. Dragapult can go for light screens. Dragapult can Dynamax and use weakness policy. Dragapult has Phantom Force, can go special, can go physical, has access to dive for water moves. It's incredibly versatile. It's so fast and it's so terrifying. Base 142 speed, there aren't much Pokemon that can outspeed it. Unfortunately, Calyrex can, which is why no one's seeing Dragapult play right now, but there's no denying that every single metagame prior to restricted formats where Calyrex was allowed, Dragapult reigned supreme. It's a very great addition to the Gen 8 roster, and it's such a strong Pokemon that I think S tier is by far necessary when it comes to ranking them. Moving on, I'm going to say Marshallow's a solid A. Marshallow's very good in singles, can steal your opponent's stats with its special move. And also, Ghost Fighting's cool typing. It's kind of what I wish Golurk was, but hey, it is what it is. Golurk wants to be part ground. The Shedinja. I'm going to say Shedinja is an A tier when it comes to ghost types. Because if you could play Shedinja well, or if you could play Shedinja intelligently, Shedinja can take over games. It's a simple fact, because if you can eliminate all the Pokemon that have super effective moves against Shedinja, then Shedinja wins, because the other Pokemon left can't touch it. They're just going to get knocked out. Slowly by Will-O-Wisp and Shadow Sneaks, but eventually we'll get knocked out. We'll lose the game to the timer, because Shedinja will just sit there and never die. But along with that, I think a solid A tier is a good spot for Shedinja, mostly because I do think it's better than these two. We need some more C tiers, though. I guess we haven't really been looking at the C tier too much. Solid C is like Dust Noir. I mean, it's okay. The fact that it exists makes Dusclops better, because you can give Eviolite to Dusclops. It does also set Trick Room. This one is a little less tanky and does have a little bit more attack, but the problem is it doesn't have enough attack to make it a Trick Room sweeper, which is why I want to stick it in the C tier. Yeah. Trick Room sweepers, though. Dhelmise. There was a time, I think it was Series 6, where Dhelmise was really well used, because it would be a hard counter to Rhyperior. It would be a hard counter to Primarina. It would deal with a lot of the metagame, and if you can get Trick Room up, it could even be a hard counter to Dragapult. So I think the options were definitely there for this Pokemon, and with a weakness policy, it could definitely do very well in the current metagame. Maybe. Remember, this thing exists. Sableye. I'm I'm willing to put Sableye in the A tier also. I feel like he's a very good support mon. Can set up Sun if it has to. Can use Foul Play. Can go for Fake if it has Will-O-Wisp. Has Quash. Has T-Wave if you want to go that route. Very solid A tier. Very strong A tier. Runerigus. I mean, it's kind of worse Mummy, right? It feels worse. It feels like Wandering Spirit has less use cases than Mummy does. It almost feels like Wandering Spirit isn't good sometimes. You can accidentally ruin the game by having your opponent be better than you and purposefully using Wanting Spirit to their advantage to like steal your Sidemon's ability and give them, you know, an ability that isn't that good. So yeah, I think a C tier is a good place for that. Moving on with the list, I do want to rank Galarian Corsola as a B tier. It can get very annoying with Sap Sipper and with setting up and being very tanky. So let's give that a B tier. I will put Corsola, which is like its counterpart, in a C tier. The reason why I want to put this in C tier is because it feels like it's a little bit weaker than Corsola, because this can get Eviolite. I mean, its existence does allow Corsola to get Eviolite, which is something. But, you know, it just doesn't do what Corsola does. It does hit hard if you can get Trick Room set up, I guess. If you get Trick Room set up, if you can get its weak armor proc, and if you can get it being very fast and having weakness policy proc, maybe. Maybe, just maybe. But I don't see it too often. I really don't see it at all, actually, anymore. So I think a solid C there. Same thing goes for Trevenant. Unfortunately, Trevenant used to be better because it does get a cool ability like Harvest. So you used to be able to get the Citrus Berry Harvest, constantly just having your health healed up as the battle goes on, building very tanky, going for Will-O-Wisp, having access to Woodhammer. You had it all with Trevenant earlier in the metagame. Unfortunately, not so much anymore. So I feel like Trevenant's going to fall off a little bit. The better grass ghost type is actually Gourgeist. Did actually see competitive play this year, and was very cool next to Tyrantars, because you can go ahead and make your Tyrantars not weak to fighting by turning them into ghost types, which was kind of the idea that was popularized in the Oceania International Challenge earlier this, or probably 2 years ago at this point. Wow, that was a long time ago. But yeah, has usage, is really tanky, can set up Trick Room. Probably better than this Ghost Grass type. Decidueye is a little bit underwhelming, unfortunately. Hopefully, Legends Arceus gives it a different coat that it makes it more useful. I do think Decidueye is a great Pokemon. It's just not tanky enough to do what it needs to do, and it's also not strong enough to take out other ghost types. It's a very awkward speed tier as well, which doesn't help it. So they got to figure out what they're doing, because the second they try to make a Pokemon mix attacker like Decidueye, they always struggle in succeeding. Makes it very difficult. A nice solid A-type is Jellicent, though. Jellicent is one of the best Trick Room setters currently because Kyogre is so popular, and Jellicent gets water absorbed, so Kyogre can't really touch it. On top of that, the only problem that it does have is against Calyrex Shadow, because Calyrex Shadow loves to just OHKO it, so you're kind of forced onto a Ghost Berry just to keep you alive. But hey, if you can get Trick Room up and not take any damage, you have some pretty powerful water spouts. Some very strong water spouts. And also gets access to Strength Sap, which is cool. Speaking of Strength Sap, I think Drifblim is top tier too. Nah, maybe not. Drifblim, okay, we'll put Drifblim B tier because it does get Strength Sap. It does have Unburden. It can proc Unburden through seeds, like Electric Seed, Psychic Seed, Grass Seed, Misty Seed, etc. But it doesn't see play right now, which is why I can't put it higher. And it's kind of gimmicky and does also lose to just Priority Tailwinds because you can't outspeed Priority. So that's the only unfortunate thing, unless, you know, you have priority yourself, which unfortunately the Drifblim doesn't have. Miss Magus, I'll give a C tier. It does damage. I can't complain about it. That's it, though. It just does damage. Not enough. Not enough to be meaningful, I feel, at least. There's no, like, secret gimmicks with Miss Magus. It's just very straightforward. Frosslass, I'll give probably a C as well. I mean, Frosslass is another one that just kind of does damage. The Ice type doesn't help it at all. It makes it as frail as can be. You're almost forced to have Sash on this. It does get Snow Cloak, which can make it, you know, have a little bit of evasion. But man, it just kind of sits there in Destiny Bonds. So you're just kind of a sacrificial lamb, which, you know, in the world of Pokemon doesn't tend to be a good Pokemon if you're just constantly sacrificed. Golurk. Similar case, man. Golurk has a similar problem with Decidueye. They're not awful They don't specialize in anything. They're not in a good speed tier, and they don't do enough damage to get the KOs. The only thing that's cool about Golurk is that it does get no guard. So maybe if you wanted to do something with Golurk and Wandering Spirit, you could. But you do also force yourself to have 2 ghost types on the field at the same time. Chandelure, I'll give A tier. I think Chandelure is very strong. I think Chandelure can set up Trick Room. Has an interesting ability with Flash Fire. It used to have Shadow Tag, which used to be like extra dumb, I believe. I think they took it out for good reason. They gave it Infiltrator instead. But yeah, man. Super strong Pokemon, and I think that this in the A tier makes a lot of sense there. Moving on, I do want to add some more. I think the rest of these are all honestly kind of top tier. They're not awful. The Blacephalon, I'll go ahead and give the A tier as well. Blacephalon goes very fast. I did see a time where Blacephalon was paired with Colossal in order to give Colossal the speed without giving it the weakness policy, which is interesting because you used to go for Mind Blow, which does hit your ally and does half of your health, but it's like a very strong fire type move, and it's very unique to this Pokemon. So you had that option, right? Along with that, it's also very fast and has very high special attack, so you can't go wrong with that. It's a glass cannon. Palisand. I will give Palisand a B tier. There was a set with Palisand that did have Water Shuriken, a Cell Guard next to it. Fine. It was good for a little bit, for like 2 weeks. It was very annoying to play against because people had to find very hard ways around water compaction. So let's go ahead and give that the B tier just because it was so unkillable. Poltegeist. Man, Shell Smash ain't bad. I will give this B tier because it's very gimmicky though. It's very gimmicky. I think Shell Smash is good. Shell Smash, Poltegeist, with weak armor on top of it is really cool. And then Stored Power to boot. You can get a lot of stat bonuses going. The only unfortunate thing is that, Stored Power isn't a stab, so you won't get the stab boosts. But otherwise, it's very interesting. It can definitely do like a cheese win in singles. So yeah, let's go ahead and stick that in B. And last but not least, we have the Mimikyu. Mimikyu is going to be a solid S tier. I think Mimikyu is the best Trick Room setter, personally. All you have to do is stick a Mental Orb on this Pokemon and then give it, Misty Terrain or give it Electric Terrain so they can't sleep it. And then you're pretty much guaranteed Trick Room every single time because the opponent is forced to double into you. And if you build tanky, very little Pokemon can actually double in and KO. Like, they'd have to find a way to EV their Zacian to go after another priority move like a Shadow Snake, I guess, is like one of the few ways you can deal with this Pokemon. But typically they're paired next to other Trick Room setters, so if the Trick Room doesn't work for the Mimikyu, you can just swap it around and Trick Room on the other Pokemon. Also get Shadow Snakes, which is really good for proccing weakness policies on a Calyrex Ice, for example, and then just taking over the game from there. Very terrifying combinations with Calyrex Ice, and I think Mimikyu definitely deserves to be on the S tier. And with that, we're done with tier lists for quite a while. I hope you guys enjoy the series. I hope you guys enjoy the tier list as well. If you guys agree with it, let me know down below in the comments. If you guys disagree with it, also let me know down below. And I hope to see you guys again tomorrow for some Pokemon Legends Arceus. Thank you guys so much for sticking around with me through this journey. And yeah, have a great night. Peace out. Bye-bye.